Welcome to Simply Defensive. I'm Josh Mason, and with me is my co-host, Wade Wells.
What's up?
And today we've got with us Ashley Knowles.
Knowles, yes, you got it right.
Okay.
Yes.
I figured that's how you pronounce it, but I just the question mark because I'm wrong, Berg. Well,
I mean, yes, thank you.
So yeah, thank you. So Ashley, one of the big questions I had for Wade is Ashley a pen tester? And it's like, yeah, but I've got a reason why she would be on Simply Defensive, a blue team podcast. I was like, excellent. And that would be
Wade.
Everybody's really blue
You,
team.
Wade?
There is no red team. There. Oh, me? Oh, that was going to me. See, dude, I didn't catch that. I thought it was going to Ashley. So my key things is because I know Ashley works directly with the blue team a lot, right? She is what I have heard called as the sock mom.
Oh God.
And
middle management.
She does
those are like the two
middle
things.
management. That's even worse. I'm not going to call you middle management. That's probably the worst thing I could call you. But no, you do pretty much like all the detection testing, right? And like, I don't know if I don't like the term threat emulation, but I don't know why, to tell you the truth. It just sounds.
I wouldn't
gross,
really even
but-
call it threat emulation though. Like what we're doing right now is not threat emulation in my mind, right? And I'm trying to change it. I don't really love what we're doing. It's basically like simulation of activity. It's not actual activity. And so what I would love to do for our clients and, you know, as like a purple team esque thing is a mini, what we would call an assumed compromise, right? So we go in.
You should before you go in, you should probably say where you work and what you do if you want to go into that, but you don't have to if you don't want.
Where I work.
Like what
Should I
you
do. Like an introduction?
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Probably be more natural.
All right. Well, my name is Ashley Knowles. I work for Black Hills InfoSec. I have worked for them for 3 years now. 3 years, my 3-year anniversary. I know, it's crazy. I'm surprised John hasn't fired me yet.
That's what everyone seems to say.
I think everyone says that though. I do actually have a screenshot somewhere where he insinuates that I am smart. So that is fantastic. I have been a pen tester for over 10 years now. I started off doing vulnerability management, and then I was trained to do penetration tests. I worked for quite a little bit of time as a consultant. Then I did internal red team, and then back to consultancy. So that was me.
All right. So you don't want to do. So you are working like hand in hand with Black Hills' SOC right now,
Yes.
right? I forget what it's called. There's like a special name for it, but
SOC.
Is it just SOC? I thought like I don't remember. There's something on like the LinkedIn post where anti-SOC. That's what it is.
Anti-SOC is our continuous.
Oh well, never mind.
Option.
I completely got that wrong.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So let's talk about
it's the anti of the SOC.
That makes sense, man. Big brain move right there.
Clever marketers over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Horrible capitalists, but great marketers.
Honestly, I don't even think it was our marketing or content community, as they like to be referred to. I don't even think it was them that came up with that term. I think it was Corey, who is like the lead honcho, the anti-SOC dad, right?
So he's also middle management now.
Yes, he is.
I'm gonna go endorse him for that on LinkedIn.
You should. He's gonna probably hate it. But yeah.
Go
ahead, Josh.
How did you get into this role of what you're doing with working with the SOC and with clients on like that purpley side?
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, I went to John and I said, "Hey, John, I want to do more." And he was like, "What do you mean more?" And so I said, I have always kind of had this little bit of like management itch in my back, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I've always had this itch to do like management of a product solution or management of people, like whatever it is. I've always had it. I like to drive change, and I like to calm the chaos a little bit. because it does need to be calmed sometimes. And apparently I'm very good at it, hence being the SOC mom.
All right.
Okay, I went to him and I said, hey, I have some ideas. And one of the ideas that I had was attack surface emulation or management. And so he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you said that because we are in desperate need of help. And he was like, here, this is what we need you to do. Go do it. I said, okay. And that's pretty much how that happened. But then like as I kind of got more engrossed with the SOC and, learned more about like our clients and learned more about the processes and the procedures that we have in place right now. And I'm working, a little bit closely with some of the other people at BHIS from middle management perspective. As much as we want to say we're a flat org, we're not really anymore, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, as I got like closer and closer to it, I was like, look, guys, we have so many things that we could probably be catching that we're not catching, or that we could, like, as new threats come out, like one of the, I'm going to totally digress here. I don't know how much on tangents you want me to go, but because I could
Go
tangent
for it.
all
No,
day long.
we're tangent. This is tangent podcast. We might as well be called that. Blue
Fantastic.
Team
Tangent
Tangents.
forward, tangent positive.
Yes.
Tangent
So
positives.
tangents in mind. One of the newest things that we've kind of discovered, or I've discovered in the past week and a half, is Microsoft Dev Tunnels. Have you heard of it?
I've never heard of that. Perfect.
Okay. Look
No,
it up.
tell me more
So
as I mute it.
as he mutes himself. I don't want to pretend to be an expert, and I've done like literally 5 minutes of research on it. But essentially, you're using Microsoft's Azure service to establish an SSH connection over Microsoft from one place to another place. And so I signed in with a burner GitHub account, and I had that on my Kali workstation. And then in my, client's workstation, their Microsoft environment, I then used Microsoft to authenticate with access code and, oh my gosh, device access codes, and
Okay, yeah.
used Microsoft Service to tunnel my SSH traffic. And that was to bypass the firewall controls that were in place, because the firewalls were catching my SSH outbound on whether or not it was on port 22, port 80, port 433, right? It was whatever port I would find, it was like catching me and saying, no, this is SSH traffic, and shutting me down. So then I was like, okay, let's go see Microsoft Dev Tunnels, see if that's allowed. And we've found that unfortunately it is allowed because it's Microsoft service.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, yeah. I remember hearing about DevTunnel being used for SSH and didn't really get a good explanation of why that was a big thing. Sounds like, is that similar to using like VS Code's SSH
I would assume
or
so.
Windows to Windows?
Yeah, I know Cloudflare has their own spin on it too for SSH tunnels as well. Not necessarily the same exact thing, but a little bit of, the same flavor, if you will.
Yeah.
From our perspective, it's kind of scary, right? Because
I am gonna build a detection for this tomorrow.
yes, there you go. But yeah, that's why I brought it up, because it's like, it's super interesting. One of the biggest pain points we've had on pivots and assumed compromises is Microsoft products. And like Defender has gotten really, really good at catching obfuscated payloads, like DLLs, like anything that we can generate and then mangle. Like I've tried to generate Scarecrow payloads and then mangle it and increase them in size, so that like it's a 220 meg file, right? In hopes that Defender's like, I can't scan that. Nope. Defender scanned it, caught it,
But
was like, nope, gave me the middle finger.
Interesting.
I was talking to Corey yesterday about this because we were talking about how Kaspersky just disappeared, right? So
Yes.
they disappeared and then inputted a new antivirus. So if you're listening to this at a later date, you can probably like focus to figure out which day we recorded this. But I've tried to write malware in like VS Code, and as I'm writing it, Microsoft's like, "No, I know what that is." Deletes my code, and I'm like, "What?"
Yep. Yeah. So it's very interesting, back to basics type of thing, SSH tunnels to
Mhm.
establish a
Okay.
C2 inside of, or a reverse shell inside of a client's network. And how do you detect something like that? Because it shows up
Yeah.
as Microsoft's product in your
Yeah.
logs.
Shows up as devtunnels.ms.
Right.
I've already got Red Siege has a good one about it. Detect.fyi has a good detection on good detection blog on it. And then Microsoft has a whole repo for DevTunnels SSH.
Yeah.
So how is this? Do they have anything with GraphRunner built into this with using DevTunnels?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
Right? You
Someone
would think that
smarter
would
than
be
me would
something they
probably
could
be
execute.
Steve, and he could probably answer that.
I'm not a red team person. I don't know. I asked the red team to run GraphRunner. I'm like, I don't know what this does, but run it, tell me what it does, and I'll find the logs later.
Yeah.
So did you start running these in environments and then being like, someone figure out how to build a detection for this? Or did you actually build it?
No, so I just submitted it to our threat engineering team. I guess that's what you call them.
Okay. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
We know
they're
them.
working on it right now, because I was like, hey guys,
Ah,
and that's kind of the thing too. And I don't want to I have never worked for an organization that has done a great job of bridging the gap between the red and the blue side. Never.
yeah. Yeah.
And
I agree.
I feel like I'm trying to do that a little bit at BHIS, right?
All
I
right.
don't feel like it's my
Mhm.
job, but I do feel like it is in a way, because I do a lot of these testings and I interface a lot with the red team, and I do obviously with the blue team. And so whenever we get some new technique that's working in our red teams or in our pivots or, other testing that we're doing
Mhm.
over to our blue side, I'm like, hey guys, have you seen this? Do we have a detection for this? Because we probably should.
I am so glad that you said you're doing, because
Yeah.
that's something I thought would be like your guys' bread and butter, to tell you the truth. Knowing how red team focused you guys are,
Mhm.
more than blue team. So if you guys could feed the blue team, like have an incoming pipe all the time, I would imagine your blue team would be like absolutely great, right? But honestly, it's really hard to do.
It is.
Most red teams I've focused with, at least in companies, there's bad blood every time. Every time there's been bad blood between the red and blue team, and I've
Interest-
never been able to conquer that in any position I was in.
Yeah, I wouldn't
What do you think
necessarily.
is the big thing behind that? Is you're a pen tester that works right there with the SOC.
I
Like,
know what it is, right? It's the same thing that's between pen testing and developers.
mm,
It's almost the pointing of fingers, like, hey, we did this. You
Yeah,
should have caught us.
interesting.
We,
yeah.
we did this. Your code is bad. Go fix it.
Ooh.
I've found
Yeah.
a couple things. Other ones, it's like the red team and the blue team are both under different management, right?
Mhm.
And those managers may be competing for resources in some way, so they'll actually like burn each other in certain ways.
Yep.
Where there will be a purple team exercise, and then the red team will actually go out there and take advantage of something they already knew, and or the vice versa. The blue team doesn't even tell the purple team when they detect something. They're like, all right, cool, thanks. And they won't even say which tool it was or anything like that, just because they're too scared, right? Honestly, their metrics need to be intertangled, or whatever their wins are, right? That would be perfect in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had clients too that are like, oh, we want to test our SOC. And then in the same vein, they keep, their SOC completely out of the picture during like the
Yeah.
post-test
Mm.
debrief, right? So as we're going through the report, they don't allow the SOC to listen in and learn the techniques that we used. And I don't even know if they don't allow them. I don't know if that's
They
the
just
right
haven't
word.
been
I
there.
think they just don't think of it, right?
I know there is legal precedent where if a blue team knows about a certain attack and they don't build a defense against it, the individuals could be sued.
That's interesting.
There's
Interesting.
there's a Capital One, I believe it's Capital One legal thing, that's precedent. I don't know how far it went, and I've heard other organizations use that precedent to not tell the blue team what's going on. But
So
almost
the
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 last
CISO
couple
gets
red
to know
team,
the vulnerability as the SOC
yeah.
doesn't.
Exactly. Isn't that crazy? Or
Because the CISO is
all of
going to
a
do
sudden,
something about it for sure.
yeah, all the sysadmins all of a sudden get tickets to fix things, but the blue team just never knows about it.
Oh, wow.
A couple of the really good ones I've had is usually the red teamers open up some type of chat channel with the blue team right off the bat, and it's usually like off the books into some like either Signal or any WhatsApp, that type of stuff
It
where,
broke into your Slack channel.
well, no, not they broke into, but then like they go, "Hey, did you see this?" And you go, "No." And then you go, "Okay, I saw it. We're good." And then move on. It's like a backdoored communications to communicate with the red team. That's been common.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I do think another piece of the puzzle is maturity, right? You
Mhm.
can't detect what you don't have the bandwidth to detect. So
That's a good thing.
it's
Do you
hard.
think
Would you
that like
say
maturity
oh,
of
go
the organization or of the software or of like the
The people, the
individuals?
organization, the management, I think it's honestly a domino effect, right? If your
Mm,
management is not mature enough and or humble enough, right? To acknowledge they don't know what they don't know and to allow their people to have that time to learn things and implement new things and do research and development. That's another piece of the puzzle. One of the things that I will say that BHS does really well is the research and development where we go out and we learn things and we come back and we're like, okay, this is our lunch and learn topic of the day. I went out and took this class. Let me teach you what I learned type of thing. I don't feel like there's a lot of that out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
No,
I've
no,
worked for
I would agree with you, right? Like, the most SOCs that I worked in, if you did get to go somewhere, right? Usually the SOC does not get to go stuff where the low man on the totem pole and the IR people usually get to go. But, if you did, usually what would happen is you'd have to come back and give a 30-minute presentation, and most SOC people don't even wanna do that, right? I
yeah,
think that's also a thing, is I just, like, spent all this time studying, and now I have to teach all these people it. There's a little bit of a negative effect that way, which I totally agree. But coming from a red team standpoint, right, doing that research and then writing out a report, that sounds like great threat intelligence to me as a threat intel person. So
that and to like reinforce the knowledge. I think one of the things
mhm.
that people forget is that when you learn something and then you go and teach it, it reinforces what you've been taught. And if you don't understand the concept, you go and research it further, right? Because you need to teach it to someone. And then there's also the
yeah.
social awkwardness part where I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
the vast majority of us are socially tapped out by the time training is done.
Especially after a conference. Yeah,
Right.
you're totally right.
Point.
Yeah.
Good point.
One of the other
I have
things
to
that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know, again, tangent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, no, go for it.
How many stocks have you worked for that the number of tickets completed is a metric you have to adhere to?
Oh, yeah, everyone, every single one.
Oh, really?
Every single one. Yeah, every single one. And that's the great thing with it is very easy to inflate numbers while working into a SOC. They'll change the metrics on you, like, "That's fine. I can make that metric look better." There's actually a really good talk. Uh, I wanna get this guy on the podcast. I can't remember his name, but it's pretty much like, how to change your SOC metrics up to make them better, right? And to make them actually matter. And he was judging the amount of time in a ticket, and that as, like, one of the key metrics of how fast does it take you to close this? And if it's taking you a long time, why? And we should be able to fix that and with the investigation.
Mhm.
It was at B-Sides Las Vegas, and I know it was recorded, but once again, the metrics are always easy to askew, like, almost always.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons I keep as a detection engineer, I could easily make my metrics look great, but I always just keep a wins list of like big projects or tasks that actually improve the org. And so then when you want to either get a promotion or you need someone to fight for you, be like, hey, here's this list of everything I did that's not a metric that is actually like movement for the org. And that's what I use more than numbers of detections created or false positives fixed type of deal. Yeah, yeah. But leadership still likes to see those numbers go up, right? So it's really easy to keep them happy.
Down and to the right.
Oh, man.
That's how we
Man.
like our graphs.
Uh, everything
It's so
should be
easy.
going down, right?
Down and to the right. Yeah.
Down to the right. What do you think? How about this? What do you think's the biggest weakness for blue teamers, at least from a red side?
So one of the things that I always prep my clients for when I do like an internal pen test and they drop like just a Linux distro implant into the network
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to see their traffic." And I'm like, "Well, you're not going to see it unless it crosses a firewall or unless you have some type of logging turned on like the VMware instance that I'm sitting on. You're not going to see it." And or if it hits 80, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
I think that's the hardest part for a lot of clients when they have a pen test is there's just no traffic sometimes, unless it's like a Nessus vulnerability scan, something that's extraordinarily noisy and is hitting a large number of targets at the same time. It's just not going to be seen. Um, and
Running
that's
Bloodhound full bore is one that's
right.
usually everybody can, right?
Bloodhounds, Kerberos sting,
Yeah. Yeah,
all of
yeah.
that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too is if you oh man, number one thing. I don't even know. I don't even know. I could go all day because like now that I'm thinking about curb roasting, I'm like, oh man, uh, do you have canary tokens? Do you
Yeah.
have
Oh, dude, I love that you said that. That is my favorite thing. One of the red teams that we had, that was the first thing they went after, right? And I'm
Mhm.
like, "What is this?" And then figured out what they were doing. I'm like, "All right." And then I just left that setting on and just turned off the accounts logins and stuff like right? Then you just leave it as a canary. The first thing they come in, they're gonna go low fruit, bam, instant detection. Yeah.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, and you can have an account that has like pre-auth, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And then just turn it off. Yep. There's so many options. I think the issue is that again, you go back to maturity. You don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of these companies are flying by the seat of the pants, right? Where they just don't have time. You have a SOC that is overworked, underpaid. Like I was flabbergasted the other day when I was talking to some of our junior SOC analysts, like just
Yeah.
any junior SOC analyst, how little they're paid.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
and
That
you're
is
protecting companies, like,
right. The thing
um,
is, like, it doesn't at that I think okay, I'll say, like, when I first got hired as a SOC analyst, right, first job, I was making, 40 grand a year
and
as my
that's
first SOC analyst
average.
job. That's
That's
average, that
still
but not
what it
and
is.
that
in San
like,
Diego.
in
Yeah.
San Diego, yeah, and I was doing good, right? Like, that was I came up because as a sysadmin, junior sysadmin, I was making 25,
Yeah.
which I wa I was eating top ramen a lot.
25,000?
25,000, yeah.
Holy
Wow.
So
cow.
when I jumped up to 40, it was, like, huge for me.
What were
Wow.
you making hourly at In and Out?
So In and Out
Because that was
hourly.
hourly, right?
Yeah, I was in the well, no, it's not. So as a manager, it's bonus heavy, right? So
Sure.
I was making like 55, 60 as a manager at In and Out, and it took me
Okay.
like 3 years. Yeah, yeah, right. It took
Wow.
me 3 years in security to make what I was making at In and Out.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a common thing that I've told. That's why Josh knew that one. But yeah, the thing is, because you need a lot of them, right? It's an easy entry level in. I've almost been thinking of, like, starting a SOC where all you do is hire entry level people, and then you, farm them out, like, as, you just like, "Hey, like, you're ready to go. You don't need a job. You don't need to work here anymore. We're gonna start trying to farm you out to someone else and then
GTFO.
get, like, a" Yeah,
I
yeah,
totally
right?
love that you think this is your idea and not something that we came up with over
Did we? I would not be surprised if we did. I would not be
just like the podcast.
Just let's
just like the
remember.
podcast, yeah.
We came up with so many good ideas at Black Hat.
Was that at O'Brien's or what? No, we're not even
Rira.
Reraw.
Robert?
How
Rira.
is Reraw an Irish pub? I didn't think about
It
that, but
yeah. So many good
yeah, but
ideas there though. Sorry. But yeah, what do
so
you think
I
is the how could people improve their socks with this? What would be like the um if you're handing in a pen
So
test report, you've got like criticals, high, mediums, low, but then there's also like easy wins.
mhm.
What would be like some of the easy wins though that you see a lot?
Well,
let them be on the call.
yeah. Step number 1. Transparency.
Mm.
I think,
That is a good one.
yeah, I think that probably would be my biggest way to, and when I say transparency, I mean like transparency between us, because I know personally, I would love all day to be in a signal chat with a SOC of my
Mhm.
client
Mhm.
and to be like, have them send me a message and say, "Hey, I just saw some password spraying. Was that you?" And for me to be like, "Yeah, awesome, kudos." Um, and then also having transparency once that report is delivered, because I do in my reports, I try to capture timestamps as much as possible. Um,
Oh, I love you so much that you say that. That is literally the number one thing whenever I got on call with the red teams. I'm like, I want every timestamp you have. All right.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I think it's especially important too on like pivots, right? And so it's super easy as a pen tester to go into your like bash, um, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Configuration, and just
Mhm.
enable timestamps. So when you're taking screenshots, you can just screenshot when that timestamp was hit when you hit enter in like the command window, right?
mhm.
Low effort, easy, makes your lives a lot easier too. But anyway, going back to transparency, that's another thing that I feel like should be allowed, is for like the SOC to be on the debrief as a pen tester is debriefing, so they can ask questions. And again, I feel like say this all the time, no question is stupid, right? And for you to
Mhm.
be like, "Well, why didn't I see this?" And I can answer like, "Oh, well, because I didn't hit a firewall," right? I was on the same subnet as where you placed my, machine type of thing. And that's something that's super easy for people to hunt down.
Yeah,
So
that makes a lot of
No,
sense.
no. I will. One of the companies that I did work for that did really good with that type of pen test stuff. We created a chat every single time, and most of the time we immediately went to assume breach the moment we caught them, right?
mhm.
Which was always great. And after that, before the report got finalized, we would have a meeting and be like, "Hey, here's the actual report. What do you guys think?" And I'd be like, "You need fucking timestamps. Give me all your timestamps because I have to create a timeline for this now." Most of the time, they would literally just hand me like their bash history, right? And be like, "Here's all the commands." I know enough, but that that hits me hard is the timestamps.
Yeah, that's hard, right? When you just hand someone a bash script or a bash history
It,
file, it's
it
it's hard because I know myself personally, I typo a lot. And so I don't really wanna hand you my bash history.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
Just go
another
like,
thing is like, I know it's
command field, command. Like, oh, great,
yeah, like I've
that'd be
fucked
me.
a file path or something. I don't know. It happens all the time. Or like I'll be in a pivot where I don't have oh my gosh, copy paste. So I can't copy from my host
Ah, the
machine
worst.
into the machine that I'm already keyed into. And so I'm just sitting here typing EF7 capital T, like trying not to butterfinger it. Um, but it would, yeah, it's always
Just some
happens.
Python to drop a pseudo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Um,
I'm thinking like, is there a program that will just auto keystroke stuff for you? Like you copy it and then it reads from your clipboard and then
oh, that's
types it out
smart.
for you though. Right? That would be really cool. I would like that as a blue teamer because I have weird stuff like that all the time.
You
There,
probably
it,
tell
it exists.
Siri to do it.
A rubber ducky.
Yeah, yeah, right. It
Bring your
definitely
your
exists.
own rubber ducky. You stroke while you're.
I call it advanced paste. How's that?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like,
So I don't know. I feel like there's so many things that SOCs and pen testers, and especially during pen testing, that can be done better. Um, but really just transparency and not being afraid to bug your pen tester. Um,
mm,
and there's a fine line there though too, right? There's a fine line between bugging them so much that they can't get their job done, but asking questions that I can easily answer or say, yes, of course that was me, or providing alerting. I don't even know how many tests I've been on where I'm on the debrief and the client's like, oh yeah, we saw that. I'm like, well, you didn't send me the alert, you know? Um, and what I know you're having a pen testing a pen test be done. But what if perchance, right, there is someone in your network at the same time as me and you're just assuming that it's me?
Right. And they wouldn't know without asking.
Right. And that goes back to transparency.
That would be great. I've never
So
had that happen, but I've heard it for other people.
the CISOs and SOC managers have your SOCs know when a pen test is happening and
Yeah.
able to communicate with the pen testers.
Yeah. Or knowing where the pen test is occurring, like the source IP address. I've also
For
had
sure.
a number of clients reach out and they're like, "Oh, is this you?" And it's like some source IP address in Japan. And I'm like, guys, no,
Yeah.
You
it goes both ways.
you better call IR real quick. Like,
Right. Yeah.
That's great.
It's like, no, but
No,
while
that's
I'm in here, want me to look.
Right.
I did come
Josh,
across this reverse shell that I didn't put here.
I have unfortunately found compromises during tests.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
It's sad.
I would be very happy if that happened.
Accidental threat hunting.
Well,
Like, oh,
yeah.
my OC.
In some of them, it's been a case where they're like, "Oh shoot, I have no idea how long this has been happening because we don't have logging turned on that server."
I worked in internal breach, and one time I was like, "Hey," I asked that the logging, and they go, "It's a day," and I'm like, "What do you mean it's a day? Why did you call me into this?" Like they pulled me in just to look at these logs, and I'm like, "All right, give me the logs," and then I'm like, "How long do these logs go back?" Like a day, and I'm like, "Well, when did this happen?" A week. I'm like, "Well, why did you even call me here? I'm going back into the SOC. Just call IR. Like I'm done. Like
Right. Yeah, there's nothing else you could do at that point.
Yeah,
At that
yeah.
point, there's no logging. It is an IR. You need to investigate. That is something that has kind of blown me away. Another fine line is how, I guess not in depth or in depth your SOC investigations are done, and then at what point it goes from a SOC investigation to this is actually IR work. Because like for me, I'm like, oh yeah, what's the IP address? I'm like, okay, I'm looking up the IP address. I'm looking up DNS records for this like host. I'm going back to see the change of hands, and they're like, that's too far. Like you've gone too far, Ashley. And I'm like, but it's there.
That's interesting. I turned my volume all the way up, so if I'm a little louder. But that is definitely something I've seen at different organizations is how far that SOC is supposed to go. The best organizations I've seen is once an analyst catches the breach or whatever, catches the incident, that's what we'll say because breach is a bad lawyer word. They bring the analyst along with them. You're just attached to IR for the rest of the day as that person who caught it to then help them out as a log monkey.
That's cool.
But yeah. And it's good learning time, but no, cool. Josh, remember the last question I asked last time? It was like, what's one thing you think everyone should get better at or something like that?
Yeah. Or I think we went with what's your favorite tool or what's something that you would recommend to people to like focus
To
on
learn.
become better at?
Yeah.
We should really write this down.
Independently. Yeah. Don't try not to go brand heavy.
Google.
Like I'm not going to tell everyone to use Splunk. Google.
No, I'm serious though. Like
I
you go back
agree.
to like how do you properly train SOC analysts or just anyone in general? Knowing how to Google is an art.
I would agree with it. I go with it. My first SOC analyst job, we didn't have anyone senior. Everyone was like a year, or two at the most. And so when you'd ask a question, no one would know. And you would just have to Google.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But okay. Googling got real good.
Yeah. Well, and
The customer got real mad.
that's the hard part is I feel like sometimes people are too quick to jump to asking a senior a question. And I'm not saying like questions are stupid. I'm not saying that like you shouldn't ask people, but I'm saying, have you even tried? Have you even Googled? And that's something that was kind of drilled into me by someone that trained me to pen test is How hard have you worked to solve your problem yourself before you try harder? Or before you
I think
ask
I've, I don't
someone?
know.
Yeah. Ooh, that is one of those things. When did you get been a pen tester? You said for 10 years.
Mhm.
So I assume that you did OSCP at some point along
No.
there. No,
So, fun fact, I have 0 certifications. Um,
5.
yeah, high five. Um,
That's impressive in alone. You just like jumped 10 notches, and for me,
I
I
have
did
so
not
many
know that.
O's to
Respect.
pick with certs. It's not that I haven't attempted OSCP, it's not that I haven't attempted SANS classes. I spent several years a single mom to 2 kids under a very, very young age. They were 2 under 2 for obviously a while. Um, and I just didn't have the bandwidth. I couldn't, and I reached out, I don't wanna again, I don't wanna, like, be like, "OSCP is bad," but back then,
No,
it was different than it is today, and I do feel like
sure,
Yeah,
have
sure.
taken
yeah.
feedback and they've enhanced it, but back then, I had ran into an issue and, something had happened with one of my kids, and I couldn't finish my OSCP lab time, and I was like, "Look, I'm gonna be transparent with you guys, I can't finish this. Um, there's just no way. There's no way I can stay up for 48 hours straight doing the OSCP and then writing the report with a sick kid at home." I think he had like HFM or something. Um,
Gee.
which is, if you guys have
Yeah.
kids, no picnic. Um, it and they were just kind of like, "Sorry, you're lost. Gonna try again later." And I was like, "No, nope." Um, and I will never forget. Uh, like right around this same time that my first kid was born, someone had offered to take the OSCP for me for a Bitcoin, and this was back before it was proctored. Um and that kind of like ruined it for me a little bit because it was like I wonder how many people out there are taking certifications that aren't proctored for people for money.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And it just
Uh,
I don't
yeah.
know.
No, one of my first IT jobs, everybody had a brain dump for the certification that we needed to work there. They required a cert to work at this job. If you did
Mhm.
not get it, they fired you. Everyone used the brain dump. Everyone passed. They gave me the brain dump. I did not pass because they had changed the test.
Oh no.
And I wound up taking the test 3 or 4 times and studying my
Wow.
ass off.
Yeah.
Never passed, and then they realized, like, "Okay, what we're doing probably isn't the best," and they changed the policy, and then they actually repaid me for all the cert tries, which was really cool, and then I immediately found another job. So,
I also worked at a place where I had spent 3 years, like, busting my butt, and 3 years in, they decided that all of the pen testers had to had OSCP in order to stay as pen testers, or I was gonna get
Even though you'd
demoted,
been there for 3 years.
even though I had been there for 3 years and had been busting my butt, and this was also kind of like a churn and burn pen testing firm. Um, and so I was just like, I'm sorry." And this was again back when I was newly single parent, um, with 2 kids. Uh, they were like, "You need to get the cert or we're gonna demote you, and all you're gonna do is, basically rules of engagement calls with clients and,
wow.
like, pre-setting up so that everyone else that did have the OSCP could get it done." And, I was like, no, I can't. Like, it's just not gonna happen, and you cannot this is not something that you legally can force me to do. Um, and it wasn't like a dock and pay or like a demotion in my job title, it was just strictly like this almost like club of, like, who had a cert versus who didn't, and ever since then, these kinda, like, combination of things I'll take classes all day long. I just
Mhm.
will never take the cert.
There you go. Now my audio is pretty, at least it's in the yellow. As for anyone who's listening to this, just so you know, the state of California, you can't require someone to get a cert if you already hired them. I learned that after.
After that,
So
After that
yeah,
job.
after that job. Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, maybe I should turn my mic up too because I was
Oh, no,
not.
No,
you're
you were fine. You were fine the entire job. I always have weird audio problems, no matter what. Like Ryan told me to buy all this audio setup. Like I see it like flashing yellow and red right now, but then on my computer, there's something suppressing me on the computer where I don't know. Oh, look at the computer
Your
dropped me down to
computer
52.
hates you.
There you go.
Yeah.
It does. There now. Something's auto suppressing, and I still don't know what it is. But
I don't know.
well.
I kind of swear by Elgato. I have their camera and their mic, and I have
I got Audio Technica mic, Focusrite, whatever thingy. Whatever the box is. I don't know. I just asked Ryan, and Ryan sent me all this stuff. Maybe it's time to upgrade.
My Blue Yeti works fairly decently. I don't know.
Yetis are nice.
All right.
Out of the
Well,
box.
Ashley, it was
Yes.
excellent. We went a little long, to tell you the truth, as compared to other ones, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Where do if you want people to find you, where would they find you and stuff like that? If you don't want people to find you, that's cool too.
No, people can find me. I'm not active on social media as much as I used to. It's Twitter's a cesspool and LinkedIn
Oh, yeah.
is kind of turning into Twitter 2.0. But you can definitely hit me up on LinkedIn or Discord on the BHIS servers. I'm Bionic Lady.
Ashley and I have been really good friends probably for like the past year, and I did not realize that we weren't like friends on LinkedIn until I was trying to find her LinkedIn as show notes for this.
Yep. Yeah. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Thank you for joining us, Ashley. For those who are listening or watching, if you enjoyed this and you want to catch more, join us again next week. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, all those things that
Ring
I'm
the
supposed
bell.
to say. Yeah, all right. Ring the bell. And we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.